Hello, and welcome back to the Inner Citadel. We are talking today about the habit that silently sabotages more lives than almost any other, the need to apologize for existing. It is the reflexive, quiet instinct to make yourself smaller, to minimize your ambition, and to qualify your boundaries, all so that you might be granted permission to simply take up space. This isn't about good manners. This is about a deep-seated, painful psychological complex that keeps you from your power. This pattern of constant self-apology is the antithesis of the Inner Citadel. It's an open invitation for others to define your worth. The good news is that the solution is simple. It does not require years of therapy or a complete life overhaul. It requires a single, ruthless question, a question that acts like an existential crowbar, breaking the lock on the prison you built for yourself. We are going to tell the story of a woman named Anna, and how facing this one question, the Nietzschean question of self-mastery, changed the very structure of her reality. Part 1. The quiet prison of Anna's apologies. Anna was, by all measures, a successful person. She worked in marketing, she had a close circle of friends, and she was known for her exceptional kindness and reliability. But to her, life felt like a relentless performance for an audience she couldn't see. Her internal landscape was dominated by an exhausting cycle of anticipatory guilt. She would over-apologize constantly. "I'm sorry, is this a bad time?" Even when she had scheduled the meeting. "I'm sorry, I hope this isn't too much trouble," when asking for the bare minimum she was owed. She even found herself apologizing for enjoying her own achievements. When she got a promotion, she downplayed it immediately, saying, "Oh, it was just timing, anyone could have done it, sorry, I'm busy right now." This wasn't politeness. This was a psychological pattern of self-cancellation. The Jungian cost of the persona from a Jungian perspective, Anna was a textbook case of someone over-identifying with her persona. The persona is the mask we wear in public, the face we present to society. Anna's persona was built almost entirely out of accommodating agreeable and non-threatening features. Her deep, innate need for love and belonging had convinced her conscious mind that the only way to be safe was to be perpetually acceptable. The price she paid was her soul. When you live entirely through a defensive persona, you must constantly apologize for the real self, the shadow that is trying to break through. When the real Anna wanted to say, "No, I need this time off," she apologized, because saying no felt like destroying her acceptable, agreeable mask. When the real Anna wanted to claim credit for her excellent work, she minimized it because confidence felt too much like the egoistic, selfish trait she was taught to repress. The apologizing became the psychological mortar that held her persona together. But every apology was a tiny act of self-betrayal. The accumulated weight of these betrayals was the depression and anxiety that followed her everywhere. She felt perpetually in debt, spiritually exhausted, and totally unable to identify her own true desires, separate from what others expected. She was the hero of her own story, but she was living a supporting role written by someone else. The problem of living a lie. Nietzsche understood this self-betrayal better than anyone. He saw that true strength wasn't about dominating others. It was about the will to power over oneself. Anna had outsourced her will to the approval of her social circle. She was living a lie, and it was killing her spirit. Nietzsche argued that the most dangerous form of weakness is the inability to affirm oneself. The apologizing person lives in a state of resentment, constantly blaming the world for the constraints they themselves impose. They are afraid of the consequences of their true self, and so they default to submission. We all do this to some degree. We apologize for our intensity. We apologize for our sensitivity. We apologize for daring to want more than what we already have. And we do this because we are terrified of the simple, radical act of standing alone in our truth. This is why we need the crowbar. We need a way to break this complex wide open. Part 2, the Nietzschean crowbar, the question. Anna hit her breaking point during a simple conversation. She had agreed to take on a massive project for a colleague, completely derailing her own weekend. And she was so panicked by the colleague's request that she had even apologized for taking a few seconds to check her calendar. Later that day, sitting alone, she asked herself what felt like a truly profound question. Why do I hate myself so much? But that question led nowhere. It was too broad, too emotional. The true, clean-cutting question is far simpler. It is a question designed to strip away the persona and confront the individual with their own sovereignty. The question that changes everything. The question that made Anna stop apologizing is this. If I were the last person on earth, would I still need to apologize for this action? Let's break down the surgical precision of this single inquiry. It isolates the action. It forces you to look at the action itself, your boundary, your ambition, your request, your success, and separate it from its social context. It removes the audience. By placing you as the last person on earth, it instantly dissolves the need for the persona. There is no one left to impress, no one left to fear, no one left to grant approval. It tests the will. It asks, Is this apology driven by a genuine moral failing, or is it driven by fear of social consequence? When Anna applied this to her situation, the answer was brutal and clear. If she were the last person on earth, she would not apologize for needing her weekend to rest. She would not apologize for the excellence of her work. She would not apologize for taking space. The instant the audience disappeared, the apology became meaningless. This was the first time in her life she truly understood that her excessive apologizing was not about being good, it was about being safe. It was a defense mechanism, a psychological bribe offered to the world. I'm safe. I'm harmless. Please don't reject me. The birth of self-authorships. The significance of this question is that it is a direct exercise in Nietzschean self-authorship. Nietzsche demands that we stop being reactors to external moral codes and start becoming the authors of our own values. If you don't need to apologize to the last person on earth, then any apology you issue when you are surrounded by others is an admission that you value their judgment more than your own truth. The question forces you into the highest form of will to power, the power to define your actions as good simply because you chose them, and you can live with the consequences. This is the ultimate confrontation with the herd mentality. The herd requires conformity, and the currency of conformity is the apology. The self-sovereign individual refuses to pay that price. Part 3. The inner work of integration, the cure. The question gives you the initial spark of realization, but the ongoing cure requires integration, the slow, difficult, and essential work of making the conscious choice align with the truth revealed by the unconscious. Step 1. Differentiating. Guilt. Anna realized that not all guilt is the same. Jungian psychology helps us differentiate between two critical types. Moral guilt. This is healthy. It is the appropriate feeling that arises when you violate your own deep, authentic ethical code, e.g., lying to a partner, stealing time, betraying a trust. This guilt requires atonement and correction, not just a cheap apology, but a change in behavior. Existential guilt, the complex. This is unhealthy. It is the vague, pervasive feeling that you are taking up too much space, being too much, or inconvenient. This guilt is a psychological trap rooted in childhood fears of abandonment and rejection. It requires elimination through self-affirmation. When Anna felt the urge to apologize, she began to pause and ask the question. If the answer was that the apology was driven by the fear of disapproval, she physically held the words back. This was the moment of transformation. She was choosing inner integrity over external ease. Step 2. Affirming the shadow. The qualities that Anna most frequently apologized for were often the most powerful aspects of her shadow, the parts she was taught to repress. She apologized for her clarity, which her family called being bossy. She apologized for her intensity, which society called too emotional. She apologized for her ambition, which she feared others would call selfish. The cure for the apologetic complex is not to become arrogant, but to affirm the totality of your nature. It is a recognition that the qualities you are apologizing for are the very energies required for your individuation. You must integrate your shadow by saying, yes, I am intense. And that intensity fuels my passion. I will no longer apologize for the fuel that drives my purpose. This is the radical self-acceptance that stops the endless cycle of apology. Step 3. Building. The Nietzschean yes. The opposite of the apologetic reflex is the affirmative will. It is the ability to say yes to your actions, to your fate, and to yourself, without reservation. This is where the final philosophical layer comes in. Amor fati, the love of one's fate. When you stop apologizing for your current choices, you are simultaneously stopping the process of regretting your past. Anna's previous regrets, the opportunities she missed because she was too afraid to speak up, began to transform. She saw those past failures as necessary lessons. The ultimate cure is to look at your entire life, your past mistakes, your current difficult choices, your future goals, and instead of apologizing for any of it, you embrace it. You look at it and say, this is mine, this is my fate, and I affirm it completely. The moment you can say yes to the totality of your life, the need to apologize for the individual parts vanishes. You become unapologetic not out of arrogance, but out of self-sovereignty. Conclusion, the unapologetic self-Anna didn't become rude or difficult. She became authentic. Her kindness remained, but it was now a conscious choice, not a desperate plea for acceptance. Her boundaries became clear, her voice became steady, and her anxiety began to recede, because the exhausting internal warfare of self-cancellation was over. The inner citadel is not a place where you are safe from others. It is a place where you are safe from your own self-betrayal. The question is simple, but its demand is total. If I were the last person on earth, Would I still need to apologize for this action? I encourage you to use this question as your philosophical tool this week. Apply it ruthlessly to your next few uncomfortable moments. See what truth it uncovers. The meaning you seek is not hidden in a grand cosmic plan. It is forged in the small daily moments when you choose your own voice over the approval of the crowd. It is in that choice that you stop apologizing and truly begin to live. Thank you for watching. If this question has already sparked a change in your perspective, hit the like button and subscribe to the Inner Citadel for more explorations of philosophy and the courage of the self.